Hello, this is Linda Vetches Nichols, evolutionaryhealer.com, and I have with me the most amazing husband and couple, Carrie Earthwind Nichols and Kelly and Jim. Hi, Kelly and Jim.
Hey guys.
Hello. I thought for a second you were talking about me, but
I did too.
I was jealous.
You do have last Kelly Epperson and Jim Simmons. Not Simpson.
Simmons.
Simmons. So how are you guys?
For early in the morning, we're great. How are you guys?
We are awake. Puppies have been peed. We're good. Life is good. So we wanted to get together with you guys and for Valentine's Day talk. And, you know, I would say the best thing to do at the beginning here is to just find out the quick snippet story of your lives and how you guys came together. What's your quick story on how you met?
Oh, I can't do it quickly, but I will try. Go?
Sure.
Okay. Oh gosh, we actually met in 2009 when Facebook was a relatively new thing in my world. We had gone to high school together, but didn't really know each other. So we were mutual Facebook friends. The real brief version of he posted positive things, I posted positive things. We sort of like admired each other's writing skills, but both being like newly divorced, we were not looking for anything, and sure as heck, I'm not going to meet anybody online. That was my motto. But at that time, I planned what I called a joy luncheon. I rented this mansion and hosted kind of what I thought was a ladies' luncheon, and yet here this guy showed up. So I'm like, interesting. So we chatted for a couple minutes that day because it was a busy function. But in that conversation, I remember he was going off to run some 100-mile through the woods thing. And I'm like, who runs 100 miles through the woods? I mean, there's a story in there. So we arranged to meet for lunch the next week. And then that lunch was like 3-4 hours long. And that is how we started our friendship. And it was a friendship in the beginning, I think. Was that, did I do that okay?
Except for you left out the amazingly wonderful person that you are. It's just, we just we're able to relate and be really open and we just kind of
right. That first lunch we
same...
connected in a crazy way. That was, I felt like, oh, this is too good to be true kind of thing. Like this guy is so that connection. And a year later, we decided to marry.
Wow. Too cool. I love it. How long had you guys been married in former marriages?
I had been married 20 years, and you were?
About 25.
About 25, so.
Yeah, cool. That's a kind of, for us, we're 33-year starter marriages, and we're older probably than you guys, so that's about the same then. Very cool. Yeah, Terry was in a committed relationship, saw me at it was a meditation at somebody's house, and he was hugging the hostess, and he looked up, saw me, and I had no idea this was going on. And 10 months later, we had seen each other at volunteer things. 10 months later, after that relationship completely fell apart, he tells me, he goes, I have something to tell you. I saw you at Mona's, and I just wanted to scoop you up in my arms and tell you you're mine and I'm marrying you. And I said, oh, you know,
oh,
I just want to let you know I still feel that way. And I said, you want to marry me? When do you want to marry me? And when he saw me, he had no idea 10 months earlier that I was married, let alone I had just gotten a lawyer to get a divorce. So 10 months later, it's like, you know, and when do you want to marry me? He's like, in a week and a half, 2 weeks, take your time. And I'm like, you're not.
I love it. Oh, I love it.
And I'm so shocked. I'm like, you're not kidding, are you? And he goes, nope, sorry. I was like, oh my gosh. So I went home crying, and he had told me his whole spiritual journey, and he had all these sketches up on the wall and stuff like that. And it's like, oh my gosh, you know? So I knew it was a done deal. I'm an inner peace gal. He's in he's a world peace guy, and you can't have world peace without inner peace. So it was a done deal on the spiritual level, right? And all I can think as a woman is, wait a minute, I'm supposed to have sex with this guy in a week and a half, 2 weeks, take my time? I don't think so. Anyways, when I get home, I text him, and I'm like going, oh my gosh, I feel like the Virgin Mary. She ponders these things in her heart. And he answers it back like a poem. Then I know he's up, so I call him. We talked for 3 hours. When his daughter found out, she totally freaked, because they're both Capricorns, and they talk 5 minutes if there's a big problem. 10 minutes in a crisis, and I bet you've maybe done that once, if not at all. They don't talk long. She goes, who is this woman that, captivated my father for 3 hours on a phone? I have to meet her. So we did a blessing ceremony with our heart-to-heart tribe, and so we did the married before God wrap up in a blanket thing. Then we did the heart-to-heart tribe. He's Native American, found out when he was 46. So we did the whole Native American thing. And then that was like March, and then May, and then the following January we did the street man thing, and my mother was very happy. We did the legal beagle for some insurance.
I made an honest woman of the old girl.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
that.
Go ahead.
Well, when we decided at first, like, we just knew that we would be together. Like, we made that commitment, and we didn't know, if marriage would be a part of it. But then really soon we decided, yes, we will. It was actually January 11th of 2011. So it was 1/1/1/1 that we just knew, like, okay, we want to be married. And you had visions, whatever, of, you're like, I picture it's an outdoor wedding, and it's a woman officiant, and there's a Native American flute player, and he had this vision, and then everything just fell in like crazy, wonderful ways. We got married at the Outdoor Labyrinth here, at a place called Women's Space. It is absolutely magical. The gal who taught us singing bowls also had an amazing voice, and she just happened to have a Native American flute player guy that she had just met. So she arranged this Chicago guy to come out, and we found, so it's like all of these wonderful things. And so we had this magical where we walked through the forest while you heard the flute, and you heard Patricia's voice toning through, and then we came through the forest and the clearing where the labyrinth was. So it was truly amazing, and it was what you had pictured.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
is that something?
Yeah. So what I wanted to add to this is, like, both of our relationships are highly unconventional, but we're not conventional people. So I think something conventional is not for everyone unless if you're aligned with conventional type thinking, then that's great. But every relationship, since we're talking about couples and love, is based on what the individuals decide is important and dear to their heart.
Yes, absolutely. And stop listening to others. That's like a huge one. So that's for sure. All right. So we're talking about love in all its forms. Okay. Even unconventional forms. Right, guys? All right. So love makes it work. And you guys were referring to friends first. Terry ended up, well, I didn't really tell you the whole story because it's just so long, but we ended up together, and it was an evening. I went home and all that, but then he ended up over in my neighborhood the next day, and we were just talking, and it was into the evening, and we were sitting on a futon in my basement, and we just cuddled up, and he held me all night. And then we went back to his place, and he just held me all night, and he held me, and I made him wait an extra half a week. For 2.5 weeks, non-sexually, just held me every night. We were together, and I was more than ready. It was so beautiful so we didn't enter this marriage from a sexual place. This was a very spiritual marriage. The thing is, we had no idea what each other's triggers were, so that got interesting. And a year later, it was like, I walked past his office and he said something, and I turned it and I said, I got that husband shit. And he goes, I got that wife shit. And I'm like, oh, what is that? really. It's disrespect. And I said, you know what? Let's just not be husband and wife. Let's just be lovers. And so we took the disrespect that kind of crept in out. And, you know, it's been like 5 years now. And we're very happy. People who have known us for years can hear it in our voice, can see it on our faces, just how shifted we really are. Neither one of us wanted to be divorced, and it was the thing to do. And it took Terry 10 years to do his, so it's been an interesting journey. So yeah, marriage is definitely a journey. And what do you guys have to say about like sex versus soul?
I would have to say soul comes first. Just in the overall general scheme of life, of course, you've got to have a sense of knowing who you are, and that is a matter of soul. When it comes to a relationship, a love relationship, I think it's more important to know the other person at a soul level, more so than just the great sex. Not that that's a minor point, but for Kelly and I know that we were together for over a year, knowing each other, and we took trips, and we visited, and we shared experiences, and it was really a good time of building a bond of trust and respect. And I just love who she is. I just adore her for her. And, you know, eventually the more sensuous and the sexual aspect of our love grew, but it was all based on respect and just being able to relate to each other on a deeper level first.
Right. Very cool. I love it. I love it. All right. There will be storm. Now, that isn't so much of, okay, look for it. It's just don't be surprised in life if it does show up, because it can. And so I know you guys are very positive in your thinking and not putting things out there. Do you have anything you wanted to say about that? We've got a puppy coming up. 2 puppies, I think.
Oh,
They're in plane.
Oh, hello, babies. When I saw, you know, there will be storm, I don't really resonate with that. There will be circumstances, perhaps. There will be stuff. But I just feel in this marriage is so different than how I was in my first marriage. I probably, you know, wisdom of age and experience, but it's just this connection and honoring this guy. And I know that things that would have bothered me 20 years ago, it's like now I am so grateful, and we just operate from deep gratitude. But I know that this sounds kind of odd, like, oh, I feel like, oh, we have a special bond. Well, you guys have a special bond. Everybody out there can have a special bond with their partner. And that is what people need to really understand, is that they can have this amazing fairy tale love and know that life, quote, isn't perfect. But if you, this soul to soul connection, if that is what you hold dear and priority, then the other stuff doesn't wash over. I'm not really articulating what I want to say here. So go ahead, jump in.
Well, for me, 33-year starter marriage, to learn how to be a husband was beneficial. And yes, there was storm, and there was a lot of deep love as well. It wasn't fire and ice. There was a lot of warm days, and through that, there just seemed to be more ice days than fire days. And so going through the counseling route and doing those different things repeatedly didn't help long term. So it was time to move on. And um, starting a relationship like we talked about already, from the soul as friends, and not jumping into bed and make it a sexual thing first, I think has been huge to our marriage, because we're able to really talk to each other based on our experience from what we hated in our last marriage.
Yeah.
And that really sets us on a different level. And, all of us, we're older now, and we don't have the kids running around. We've got puppies, but, that is a big distraction. Career building is a huge distraction. And I think that creates storm because we're learning how this all affects us and is it worth it? And, those types of things. For me, I wasn't around my wife for the first 17 years of our marriage, basically a whole lot, because I was a sailor. And when it was time to go to sea, I got on a real ship and left. I didn't take different light duties. So I think that's important. Having that commitment to each other, not because I want to be married, because I want to be with this woman.
Exactly.
Right? This buddy, this friend, this person who has my back, my six, as they say commonly today, as well as, when it's time to snuggle up and really get close and be lovers, that happens too. And that's very important to me at this time of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and those inner struggles, really looking in when things aren't going right, looking in first. And I believe we did an awful lot of inner work in our first marriages, and we did even more in this marriage because we went into high-end coaching, and you go through all kinds of crazy up levels. And so just doing your inner work is so important. How about you guys? Have anything to say on inner and outer struggles?
Absolutely. A lot of the inner work we had done separately before we met each other and while we were courting. And we have done so much together now. And that's what really I loved when we were in the getting to know you phases. I could tell him anything and he didn't dismiss me and he welcomed it. And you were on a similar path with different things. And so we had so much overlap, and we believed in spiritual growth, and we could talk about anything. And one thing which I've never shared to anybody except us, there was one time when we were making love, and I said afterwards, it was like we were in this ball of white light, and he gets that. He understands that, where I couldn't have said things like that to it didn't happen with my first husband, and he would not have resonated with a lot of things. So the fact that we really do click and can share things, and we're open and we're excited, and we do I think we put our relationship first, and then the other stuff works out. And you're right, it is different this go round because there aren't kids. When you're raising a family, that is a lot of energy having to go there, where now we have the joy of putting our energy into this relationship.
Yeah.
What?
I was going to attempt humor there, and I figured I better not.
He's a good editor.
Yeah. But yeah, the inner work, and all through life there are going to be things that are going to come up that you're not going to expect, and they can be labeled storms, they can be labeled mishaps, adventures, however we want to see them. But it is good to have that sense of inner knowing of who you are, and that sure helps in relating to your partner and to the person you love, and not placing blame, and being able to have someone that you can rely on to share and relate those experiences, so you build each other up, and you both have the opportunity to grow closer in those times when there is a challenge, there is something that doesn't suit you well, or that you're struggling with on a level that oh, I don't understand what this is, or, what the timing of this event means. But just to be able to share that with the other person and to be able to be open with the deepest things of your heart and your soul, that is a big key for us in whatever's going on. If we're able to share that and just say, we can get another perspective, and just to share support if there's no explanation or no counseling, and it's just, okay, we're here together, and that's, we'll face whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. We do your thoughts, my thoughts, our thoughts, and we have a safe place, and our bedroom is our safe place, and our altars are in there, and all our private things. And everybody, like, we take turns. It's so-and-so's turn to talk, and then the other one doesn't talk until the first one's done, and that whole thing. And so mindset in marriage, I believe the most important mindset in marriage is to remember that your partner isn't out to get you. They really do love you and have your interests at heart. It's just they have a different perception of what's going on sometimes, and you guys just, we're just not on the same page. And we can talk that way now. It's like, we're not on the same page, let's just go in the bedroom, and he sits in his meditation chair, I sit on the bed, and we do that back and forth, and we put everything out in the center of the table where nobody gets to judge it. There's no criticism. We just get to say from our feeling place. Doesn't mean it's true. Just here's what we're feeling, and here's why, and here's what it's stemming from. And we did that the other day, and it finally became clear where the breakdown in the communication even was. It was just ridiculous, right?
And there's no attack.
Yeah.
You can get loud, you can cuss and scream if you want, but it's not to attack, it's to release.
Right. And we went into this marriage with a code. It's a 3 would be like somebody throwing things, and we've never, I don't think, ever had that in either marriage, but and so if somebody goes to a 1, everything shuts down. We go to our place, and we only got to a 2 one time when somebody or one of us, maybe we've each done that before, didn't listen to the 1. Yeah, so that has been really, really helpful too. All right, so it boils down to respect, and respect is everything. And we talked about non-sexual touch and how important that is. And then there was a research study done, and they found out that men would rather be respected, or would rather live on a desert island all alone than to not be respected. And women would rather live on a desert island all alone to not be loved. And to ask your boyfriend, spouse, husband, whatever, if, to say, to tell them, oh, it was a left turn, not a right turn, or just interrupt them with directions. Or how do you guys feel about respect? Because they were finding that just in a woman making a suggestion while a guy was driving was disrespect to them. Because, men, they say, like, they'd rather be lost than, I don't know, get the directions from a woman, maybe. I don't know. How do you guys feel about, when do you feel disrespected by a woman?
Boy, Kelly, do you want to start with that one? No. I would, I guess I'm unconventional, so I'm not your typical man. Maybe 20 years ago I was, probably more so. But with like a lot of the inner work and, experience and age and just self-development, that's not me. So as far as feeling disrespectful or disrespected, if we have a conversation and we'll just say, for instance, I'll just make something up here, that Kelly's really involved in some work that she's doing or an activity, and she doesn't have time at the moment to really hear what I'm saying, I might perceive that as disrespectful when in fact it's just that I need to find a better time, or we need to work out, hey, can you stop and direct your attention to me and give me some attention. I might perceive that as disrespectful, but I know that, I've got to ask for that time. the whole men are from Mars, women are from Venus. We are different, and I think a lot of that is more of our training as we grow up from a child all the way up in adulthood with society and the expectation of roles and gender roles and who has what responsibility. But I think everyone wants to be respected and loved, and we each have to look at each other as really individual, what your partner's needs are and what your needs are, and really have that communication open from the beginning of the relationship as it grows to expand and expound on that as necessary.
Right.
As far as like traveling directions, Kelly's got a wonderful sense of intuitiveness. So when she wants to put in her opinion or if she has something to say on something, I understand later when I haven't listened, because it's like, oh yeah, she said something about that, and she is more times than not usually right on. So I don't look at that as being disrespectful. If she has an opinion or if she wants to have some input to whatever I may be doing or where we're going, it's like, okay, she's saying that for a reason, and I take note of that.
And I do think it is different in this go round. Part of it, I think is the age and experience. My first marriage, if I were to ask if my husband was working on something and I would ask a question, like, what tool are you using? And he would just immediately like, how dare you question me? And I just, because I didn't understand what was going on, but he was like, you're disrespecting my manhood. So any kind of thing. So I get where most men really do feel like any kind of question is an attack or you're not respecting them. It was like just an honest, I don't understand what you're doing. So now I will even preface things, but he is so different. And in the first go round, when I was younger, I would feel disrespected if I would say something to my husband and he didn't pay attention, or like the next day I'd say, I told you that yesterday. Where now with us, I know that if I have something, if you are distracted or whatever, I can't just be like and rattle off all these things I want to tell you. I have to make sure. And so now it's even sort of a joke. I'm like, okay, look at me, honey, because I want to make sure that, I'm telling you this and that it'll stick. So it's things that we take for granted. And so now I think we've just learned how to deal with each other. And if you do walk in, like if I'm writing something and I'm like in my groove, now he knows, and I'll be just like, I need 5 minutes because I want to finish what I'm doing, give that the attention, and then I can shift and then give. So we want to be in like full attention with each other. So we acknowledge that. And I think it was even last night, I don't enjoy cooking, but I was, trying to do this or trying to do this or trying to do this. And he'd asked a question about our upcoming France trip. And I'm like, I said, I can't talk right now. I'm like, I'm sorry, but let me just finish supper. And then I said, because I really do want to talk about this and not just give some half-ass thing. So it's honoring and recognizing like, okay, I can't give this full attention. So I want to. And so we just physically actually say like, okay, hold that thought, we'll get to it, as opposed to just talking and it doesn't register with the other person. And then they get miffed because, well, I told you that.
I know, right? That's great. A great tip on feedback, Kelly. And I know Terry has issues with interrupting when the wife interrupts.
Yeah, I'm like a trauma nurse. I can do 50 things at once and track it. My thing is I'll be involved in something or in a conversation on Facebook with somebody who's having trouble. And Linda has already figured out the next 5 things we're going to do, and no check-in. It's, okay, you're on Facebook, so that doesn't count. Here's what we're going to do next, blah, 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 start spewing stuff off. And she's not doing it disrespectfully. She's not connected to me so that we can move forward. Mm-hmm. And then there's angst there. And I do the same thing to her. And so we get to, like Jim says, men are from men and women, Venus, Mars. I know I've never bought that. I do believe that it's reflected from how you were raised and the environment that you learned from. not necessarily was raised in. Because I've seen various demographics of children grow up to be not such good people, but they lived in an environment that was really good people. So, there's no guarantee there. It's how did you learn it, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
And yeah, I think the big lesson is to know who you are and know who your partner is, and to respect them for who they are, and treat each other with the same mutual respect, and just be open to communicating and not interpret anything. Like you said earlier, we're not, as partners, we're not adversaries. No one's out to get anybody else or to make anybody mad.
Right.
But we all have our own agendas or tasks that we have to accomplish. And sometimes we don't know where the other person is, what they're doing, or the attention they can give.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I jumped to this slide, because you guys have a fantastic gift. You've already given so many wonderful tips. So more love, tips on how to give, receive, and be more love. I love it. Thanks, you guys. That's great. So kellyepperson.com/lovegift.com is where everybody can go find that. This has been
There won't be a .com. It's just the kellyepperson.com/lovegift.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I just now saw that. No big deal.
Good. So kellyepperson/lovegift.com. Very cool.
No,
Kelly.
just lose the .com at the very end. That's all.
Very good.
Second.com. No com.
Yeah.
Let's talk communication. Very cool. All right. So this has been so cool, you guys. And I know that there's a lot of marriages out there that will benefit from the tips that some seasoned professionals have. Thanks again for coming on, you guys. This has been wonderful. Anybody have anything else to say in wrapping up?
Oh, I feel like we've just gotten started. This is fun. And I do want to encourage people to believe in love. That's what we get a lot. When people see us, they actually say that they are inspired. And when I ever write about our relationship, I get tons of response. And people are like, thank you. You give me hope that I can find that too. And I really want people to believe that they can have an amazing relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think my key is just take it from the perspective of a child and make it fun.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. How about you, Terry?
Yeah, we get to play grown up once in a while, but what's wrong with being a child too? And just being fun and having fun. And I think being fun, even with ourselves as a couple, is really key to having a happy relationship.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Well, thanks again, everybody. This has been really great. And happy Valentine's, everyone.
Happy Valentine's.
Happy
Thanks.
Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's.